Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Beginner to Expert. This is part 19 Angular 7 tutorial. So in this session, I will discuss about the Angular package. So this is basically a continuation of part 18 Angular package. So let's get started. I created one user component and here I am actually fetching that list of users. Okay, and this is basically an asynchronous operation and it is returning an observable as you can see. Okay, so this is an totally observable. So here whenever response is coming, I am converting that response to 2D array. Now question may comes to your mind that why do we need to create that or need to convert that one dimensional array to two dimensional array. Yeah, that is true, but here actually if you can visualize in a table, I mean to say HTML table, there t body, tr and td is there. Okay, so in so number of rows would be there and number of column would be there. So number of rows and number of column I need that would be totally dynamic. Okay, there won't be any dependencies like column name, like if you can say first name, last name. So I don't want to means hard code there using interpolation like column dot first name or column dot last name. Okay, however means whenever we will pass the array, it will print in the HTML. Okay, so that is why I am creating. So if it is coming one, I mean to say that one dimensional array, then I will convert it to two dimensional array to make the grid as a fully dynamic. So here I'm creating one. I created one grid data property. That property is actually having two you know another property. Okay, so that is called data headers and data rows. Okay, so this data header, why I'm creating, so data header nothing but that table header part. Okay, the table if we consider the one row would be there and one row will have multiple columns. So that is why the two dimensional array actually having multiple rows and each row is having multiple column array. Okay, so I'm considering first row and that first row will have that column array. Okay, and here data rows, two dimensional array, rows and column. Okay, now I will show you in a console to better understanding. So now if I open the browser. Okay, hold on. So user component ts file, here if I put a debugger. Now refresh the page. Oh, sorry, I'm not authorized. So re-login again. Uh, um, Here we go. Here actually response we got that 100 array. So each array is having a object, but we need to convert this object to an array. Okay, that is why I created one utility service. You can check that utility service I created. That utility service is actually having one method that is called created one dimension to two dimension array. So here I am passing as an input db list. This is nothing but your response one dimension array. Okay, so here I'm creating one constant that is type of two-dimensional array. Okay, so here db list I'm looping through each item, and each item is having some properties. Okay, those are the property called as key. Okay, so here object dot keys I'm looping through each key, and I'm pushing means db d2 array of first index, so in the row index, and pushing one object. That object is having two property, display value and db column name. So why I'm creating this kind of standard object, as because so list could be like employee list, or it might be user list. So each list is will have some different kind of property. Okay, so but in our grid b2e grid component, that component should have a standard property to bind the data. Okay, and there we cannot bind the data, like if we consider the user list. So that user list will have one means property like first name and last name. So that first name, if we if I go to the b2e grid component html, so here like column dot first name, then that means this grid will have some dependency with the column name. Okay, so I don't want this grid would be like will have any dependency, so it would be like totally dynamic. Okay, so that is why uh, you know created 1D to 2D array, that mapping. Okay, so here display name and display value would be like two standard property. Now I'm created just written one table tag, and each table tag will have t head and t body. Okay, so t head will have tr and th nothing but that table header cell, and tr is the table header row. So here I will means we will consider one table row will be there. So here I am looping through the data source means headers means data headers from the data source. So here actually I created that object grid data, and that data object will have the two property. One is data headers and data rows. So data headers will have that number of column array. Okay, if I put on debugger over here, and if I go to here, first time we won't be having. So second type will have you know the data source. So that data headers will have the, you can check the list of columns, and each column will have two properties, db column name and display value. So here I am looping through each headers, and one column will have that display column name, that standard property name. Okay, now same way. Okay, now let us check that column name is coming or not. Mhm. Okay, here column name actually coming, user id is visible, name, email, username. Okay, but as you can say, one error actually come in the console, that is called data headers of undefined. Okay, so here I am actually reading the one property called data headers, but first time data source would be like undefined. Okay, so that undefined won't be having any property called the data headers. So that is why we need to check grid component. So here we need to check, means we need to put one condition star ng, if data source is there, then only we will loop through. So now reload the page. Okay, now you can check here, user id is visible, all column is coming without no error. Okay, now I want this table, actually you can see that header and cell actually messed up. So I want that would be like bootstrap 4 style. Now I am using bootstrap 4. So for that I will use another input called you know t style of string. Okay, here I will read that style from parent, and I will put it over here by using you know ng class. So Now I need to pass from parent, that is user component. So I will open that. Here I will pass what is the T style. Table name is T style. Okay, so here I need to pass the hard coding string, that is, as I know that I'm using bootstrap 4, so that bootstrap 4 or bootstrap 3 will have the class name table bordered, and table responsive, so that this little bit of style I am passing to make that grid more visible, more readable. Now save the page and reload the page again. Now you can check that header actually is drawn by the means with the help of the bootstrap 4. So this way we can make this grid as a fully independent style based grid. Okay, so that means this grid can be fit any style library like bootstrap 3, bootstrap 4, or it might be your custom library. Okay, so you need to pass the class name only. Now next step to look through each row. So here ng for let call array of data source dot data rows. Okay, so here call array will have multiple column array. So here again I will look through ng for let column of this. Now I will print that display value. Okay, so display value. Now save the page. So now you can check that column is dynamic and value also be dynamic. So number of column and number of rows totally dynamic. So here I'm not hard coding any your DB response or server response based property. Okay, so this grid actually will have on standard model. Okay, so that model now I'm going to create. Okay, so here inside library I will create one folder that is called configs. So this config folder will have grid model.ts. Okay, so here I will write one class grid model class. So this grid model will have two standard property: display value, which would be like string, and db call name, which would be like also string. Now so this grid model I need to means this grid model need to be available to other component or other module outside of the package. So that is why I will put a reference this grid module to the public API, as I discussed in earlier video. Okay, so here export star from library slash configs slash this grid model. Okay, so close it. I will save it and go to that helper class, sorry, utility service, and here I actually kept any type. Now I will put of grid model type. Okay, Now I think you understood. So what I mean to say, so instead of any I will pass the grid model. Okay, so that actually whenever you will create the package, so that package will have the means will have some documentation how to use the grid. So in there we will mention that how to use the grid. Actually that grid needs one data source of type grid model. Okay, and that would be like two-dimensional array. Okay, so here now you can check that grid model will have. Now if we pass, you can check that grid model object. Now I already passed that to property. So same thing we need to do in the grid component over here. Here also I kept when it type. Now this grid model actually become and strongly typed. Okay, now save the page. Okay, now the output actually is coming as we expected. Okay, so now in next this is actually become a read only grid. Okay, so in my upcoming video I will show how to make this grid as an editable grid, not read only. Okay, it will be adjusted. So you know, read only mode or editable mode. So editable means there could be like you know, option column. That option column will have edit, delete, these kind of things, and pagination and sorting, those kind of things I will be discussing in my upcoming videos. So stay tuned and do it, try it by yourself in your home. And if you have any queries during the implementation, please don't forget to leave a message in the comment section below. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.